French toast is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Hey, we can see that you don't have pants on.
Somebody hit somebody with a pie. Do something.
Giovanni yelling we're out of time as we go off the air.
Giovanni yelling a lot of things tonight.
And welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Mark It Down podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by James Ashanti, back here once again to review AEW Dynamite, fresh off of Saturday's Allin, which was unbelievable. We talked enough about that on Saturday, so we'll dive straight into. Actually, you know what? Before that, James, you were there. How did you enjoy that?
It was an incredible show. I got to talk about it briefly as we covered Evolution on Sunday. It was an incredible experience. This is actually my second All-In, but my first AEW All-In. I went to the OG All-In back in Chicago before AEW was even a concept. And it was so special to see how far this idea has come. It was so special to see something that started off as a bet for 10,000 people turn into 24,000 people and the largest North American audience AEW has ever seen.
Yeah, it was a great show. I loved watching it here at home. It was probably even better there. I wish I could have gone, but somebody had to hold it down over here.
and you did. You guys put on a great show.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Before we jump in the show, I wanted to say hello to Maria, who's been sitting here for a minute. Appreciate you waiting. And she said that Dynamite was awesome, and it indeed was. So let's hop into the main event here in Chicago, as James just alluded to, where we had Hangman Adam Page, Mark Briscoe, and Powerhouse Hobbs facing off the Death Riders of Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta. Jumping to the end of this match, we had Yuta, Mox, Briscoe, and Hobbs pretty much all just take each other out, and they all went to the outside. And that allowed Hangman to attempt a buckshot lariat onto Claudio. However, Claudio was able to counter that right into a neutralizer attempt, but Hangman came back with a counter of his own into a jackknife cover that kept Claudio down for the 3 and the win. After the match, the Death Riders quickly jumped on their opponents to begin the attack, but it is stopped short when a spotlight appears and is put directly on Darby Allin up in the rafters, making his return to Dynamite. This distracts Moxley, and he is left alone as Briscoe and Hobbs fight off Claudio and Yuta, and then he is hit by a buckshot lariat from Hangman Adam Page, and then Marina gets the Death Riders together, and they hastily make their retreat. So, James, great main event. Went long. I mean, there was a commercial 5 minutes into the overrun. I was like, Toni is on a heat check already after Saturday. But I thought they told a very good story in the early portions of this match, especially with with Moxley kind of almost seeming reluctant to get into the ring. I saw somebody on Twitter saying, forgive me, I didn't catch who you were, saying it's almost as if he lost his nerve. And then after the second commercial break, you really started getting into the climax of the match. Moxley was more in there because people were taking heat and stuff. And you ended up with a really good end of the match, including Hangman selling the ever-loving fuck out of his right leg. So, as I said, James, great main event, good storytelling, and you get to see not just the Death Riders take another loss here, but Hangman once again get the better of Jon Moxley via the assist. Whoa. Via the assist from Darby Allin.
The Paranormal Activity.
My AC kicking on, draining the power.
I'm a little conflicted. You're absolutely right. This was a very fun main event. It's interesting because I'm noticing, or at least maybe I'm imagining that I'm noticing, but to me it's very clear this is happy Hangman. He's not wrestling violently. He's wrestling with purpose. He's wrestling powerfully. But this is a lighter on his feet Hangman, which is impressive considering he was hobbled a little bit throughout the match. He was definitely selling the injury from Saturday. But as fun as that was to see, I don't mind that these 6 had the match. I know there's a lot of discourse online. Should Hangman and Mox be wrestling right after their pay-per-view match, their Texas Death match? And I understand the concern. It's not something that bothers me so much, simply because I'm happy that Hangman was able to cut his promo earlier in the night. I know we're going to talk about it in a bit, but to me, the promo was more important than the match. And if the promo didn't happen, I would have been upset if we had had the match. But considering we did get the promo, I'm cool with the match happening. And I think it went down the way it needed to. Claudio is the only man who came out of Allin from the Death Riders looking really strong. He didn't get pinned in the trios match. He took out Samoa Joe with the steel chair. Obviously, Mox went down in the main event.
Claudio took out Ospreay as well later during the main event.
Absolutely. Good call. He took out Ospreay too. It took Bryan Danielson to drive him to the back. So Claudio looked really strong. So him taking the pin here sort of evened things out. And even then, he wasn't put down. He got rolled up.
Yeah.
So I still totally a valid loss, but he didn't get beaten, you know? So I liked how all that played out. I will say, and again, we'll talk about it a little bit more with the Hangman promo. I wish we had gotten something more out of Mox throughout the night. So it just felt a little, because like you said, they were selling the story that maybe Mox is a little worried. Maybe Mox got a little spooked by what happened on Saturday. Maybe his confidence isn't as up as it should be. But I wish there was something more in that regard. And granted, we did get that with Darby. Seeing Darby have that like Batman shot was awesome. It was. But I will question one thing, and I apologize if I'm not being the mark I should be. I don't want to be like, I don't want to rip out of this thing that is undeniably cool. Mox is selling Darby like a ghost.
Yeah, his eyes bugged.
Yeah, and he did it on Saturday too. He was flabbergasted that Darby showed up, and he did it again tonight. Like you said, his eyes bugged out. He was a deer in a headlight. I think somebody needs to remind Mox that he's never lost to Darby, and we've done this dance several times. And I'm not saying he shouldn't take Darby seriously, but if I've wrestled somebody 4 times and I've beaten them every time, I'm not that scared.
I wonder if it's just a "I've killed you, how are you back" type of look, because Moxley did stomp him and then throw it, and then literally with his foot shove his face and subsequently the rest of Darby's body down a flight of metal stairs. Like, I think Moxley just kind of thought, like, there's no way this kid could mentally or physically come back for this.
The problem with that, and I'm so sorry, it's not even the first time we've seen Darby thrown downstairs in AEW.
I know.
Page did it first.
Yeah, and Scorpio Sky, I believe, was alongside with him there. Yeah, no, I agree with you, but Moxley is, I think, also so full of himself that he thinks himself better than those people, and therefore he did it the right way, and there's no way Darby can come back from that. In Moxley's head, Darby had a run so far away that he went to Mount Everest because he couldn't deal with the fact that Moxley, took him to the woodshed that way. So I think that's what Moxley's really reacting to.
And you're probably right. And again, I know I'm not being the mark I should be. I know I'm being a little nitpicky. I apologize. But yeah, I just find it a little bit funny. But overall, great use of everybody. Hobbs is so freaking over.
Oh, and he's so good.
And it's not even just because it's the meat chant, which people love. People just like Hobbs. And I'm so here for it. Mark, I'm glad that, like, it feels like there is an attention to trying to elevate him slightly. Like I felt it as they were putting him against MJF for the Battle Royal, and it feels like they're maintaining it here. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping, like, they got the win. He was on the winning team tonight. I would love to see this man with a singles AEW title sooner than later. But yeah, just great to see all that around. So good main event.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I think maybe in Mark's case, he might get TNT after Fletcher. I think inevitably gets it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about him in a bit because he was awesome tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought you made a lot of good points. You know, Mox and Darby's a funny thing, but I think to the point where people were discussing whether or not, you know, any of these guys, maybe not any of them, but Moxley and the Death Riders versus Hangman in particular, I do think that the Death Rider story very clearly isn't over. Moxley as champion as a story is over, but the Death Riders are probably going to be going for a while. And you're definitely having Moxley versus Darby in the near future. Perhaps that's an all-out match. I don't know. And then...
All Out is happening in, I think, September. We're getting Forbidden Door first.
Oh, that's correct. Yeah, Forbidden Door is in...
This is the first
August.
year. This is the first year since the inception of AEW All In that All Out is not immediately following it by either a week or two. This is the first time they're specifically moving it away from All In. Which
Cool.
It's weird, but I think the right move.
Yeah. And despite the fact All Out just is like a sicko's bonanza every year because they have to put on a bunch of people that they weren't necessarily building for at All In. And you end up with the OG meat match and stuff like that. Or Shane Taylor having a great match against, who was that against? That was also a meat match. Was it Miro?
Maybe.
I don't remember. Yeah. But either way, whatever it ends up being, I do like that. But then it is going to, you can, I think, still build for matches at All Out. But we are in Forbidden Door season, as you mentioned. I think it's August 26th or 27th. So we're probably going to end up seeing, it's 24th. All right, I was in that. I was right. I was in the area.
You were in the ballpark.
I was on the block. And we're going to start seeing, we saw quite a few CML guys tonight, and I think we're going to start seeing more New Japan guys coming over as well. So they hopefully are able to strike that good balance of building towards Forbidden Door while also not abandoning their storylines heading to All Out. But obviously, there's going to be a little mixing and matching with that. But what I was saying was, though, maybe we get Moxley and Darby at All Out, but I do think you might end up seeing maybe some sort of blood and guts match to completely take out disband the Death Riders for good. I think that will some sort of big blow off match to end the Death Riders will be down the line. So expect to see stuff like this. Moxley might leave Hanger alone for a little while as he has to start maybe dealing with people like MJF and others who are coming for the title. But Moxley most certainly will not give up on his mission to continue to mold AEW in his image, even if he doesn't have the title itself.
And I'm fine with that. I know a lot of people expected the Death Riders to immediately disband after Moxley lost the title. That never felt genuine. The only way I would have bought that is if the rest of the Death Riders betrayed him. But at this point, the rest of the Death Riders are just Claudio, Yuta, and Marina. Yeah. And I, no disrespect to any of those three performers, all of them carried their weight throughout this group's existence. But I just don't see them meaning much after the group disbands. And that's not a knock on Claudio or Yuta or, like I said, Marina, but I think they're going to be a little aimless once the group ends. And Claudio and Yuta as a team on their own, just while I'm willing to watch them be a tag team, it's not something I'm clamoring to oh man, I want to see where that goes.
Yeah, put the titles on them, man.
Yeah, whatever. Cool, but whatever.
Yeah, they're missing Pac too, which is I think hurts.
And Gabe Kidd is only on loan anyway.
Yep.
So I mean, I think right now, for the benefit of everyone involved, they need to stick together at least a little longer. But time will tell with that, and I'm willing to, now that the title is off Mox, that pressure of, man, these guys, like, everything they do needs to be important is gone. So I'm willing to just let things play out without so much stress.
Yeah, so they're going to be around for a few more months at least. I wouldn't be surprised if they're around till at least the end of the year. So
yeah, December was where I'd imagine they would end it too.
Yeah, World's End probably.
Yeah,
of all
beautifully named.
Yeah, so I think that is pretty much covers that. So let's move on. We'll head back to the top of the show and talk about that Hangman Adam Page promo that James has been referencing. So Hangman comes down, obviously, to much applause and fanfare and a very big "You deserve it" chant, but he says that some people are missing the point here but because they are the ones who deserve it. Those who watch and support week in and week out are the ones who deserve it for demanding better wrestling and supporting a grassroots revolution that helped create AEW. Those people deserve to see the championship and deserve someone holding it who feels that connection and has more gratitude than they can ever know. On Saturday, Hangman says he went into a war that had battles waging for 9 months, and not everybody came out of those battles the same. And goes on to thank Orange Cassidy, Switchblade Jay White, a little reluctantly, Adam Copeland, the Ops, Bryan Danielson, and Darby Allin. He then specifically thanks Will Ospreay for helping him rediscover his love for professional wrestling at Double or Nothing, and for going so far that he wasn't able to walk out of Allin on his own. And then Hangman says if he wants to be champion, he has to say this. He doesn't know if this person helped him for himself, helped for AEW, or for one small moment, he wanted to help Hangman himself, but he thanks Swerve Strickland. He then goes on to say that in addition to losing buckets of blood at All In, he also shed a few tears over the weekend. And while people like Moxley might call him weak for that, he has a wife and 2 children who love him. He has the crowd behind him, and he is a man who is the champion of the fucking world. So, James, this was a little, stereotypical good guy wins the big match and wins the title.
I'm okay with it.
But it was exactly what we wanted from Hangman here, exactly what we needed from Hangman here. And obviously, he is such a good promo that he delivers it better than most, if not everybody.
Let's look back to the first time Hangman won the title. He immediately, the next Dynamite, comes out. He celebrates a little bit with the Dark Order. And he is immediately interrupted by Bryan Danielson, who had won the tournament to become the number 1 contender.
Yep.
And Bryan, who was transitioning into being a heel, like he turned heel for that feud with Hangman. He straight up said, and there were fans who didn't argue, he straight up said, I was hoping for Kenny Omega. And it almost sucked the wind out of the sails right out the gate for Hangman. Because so many people back then wanted Bryan to take the title off of Hangman. Because not necessarily they wanted Bryan to beat Hangman as much as they just wanted Bryan to be AEW champion.
And here on the pod, Danny, I think most vocal of us, and Nick as well, really wanted Hangman to have a short reign.
Yeah.
Because they think the moment was better. They thought the moment was going to be better than the reign itself. And due to external circumstances,
yes,
it kind of was. But
even beyond those other circumstances, after Bryan, he wrestled Adam Cole, who was hot back then. He was hot.
Red hot.
And then he wrestled Lance Archer, which nobody cared about.
It's a good little feud, though.
It was a good feud, a good match, but nobody cared. And it felt like there was just so much pressure. And then, of course, Punk was the end of it all. And back then, that was before everything happened.
That was the start of everything happening.
A lot of people were cheering for Punk over Hangman. And not because people didn't like Hangman, it just Punk was top of the world back then. So I bring all up this history simply because I don't think there's anybody in that company fans would rather see be champion now. And it shows how far this character has come, that there is no question, there is no doubt this man should be our champion. And it's just so great to see. And that's why this stereotypical, typical promo just felt so good to hear, because we didn't get to hear it the first time. So let our hero be the hero and sound like the hero. Coming out of, I know this is going to be corporate synergy and it's not intentional, but coming out of seeing Superman, sometimes you just want to see the good guy be the good guy. And this was that.
Yeah, and it worked. And I actually did like the spin on it where, he thanked all of those people, and you knew he was going to thank a lot of them, like Ospreay and even Swerve. But I liked he went back, and the Ops as well. But I liked he went back and thanked people who had challenged Moxley in an attempt to, get the win for AEW and failed, like Orange, like Copeland, and even Jay White, with whom he has had quite a history. Yeah. So I thought that was a good wrinkle on everything, where he not only thanked, allies in the fight, but also, seemingly enemies. So
anybody who took up arms, who took up arms against the Death Riders, enemy of my enemy is my friend, and sometimes just friend of my friend here.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you gotta ally yourself with Russia to win the war.
Terrible timing for that one, but yeah, I get you.
Fair, fine. You have to ally yourself with the Soviet Union to win the war.
Fair enough.
What's the difference? All right. After this, we got a quick glimpse of the Bucks, or excuse me, we actually got an All-In Texas recap package, and it was fine, but there was a bunch of stats about like the numbers, and that felt WWE shit, and I didn't like it, but whatever. And then we got a quick glimpse of the Bucks arriving at Dynamite in what I believe was a Nissan Maxima instead of their limo. It looked like they were coming out of an Uber or a Lyft or something. And Excalibur started calling them Matt and Nick again, because he was like, there's no rules anymore. I could do whatever I want. As we say hello again to Maria, who agreed with everything we were talking about with Hanger. After this, we got into our first match of the evening, which saw Kyle Fletcher face off against Máscara Dorada.
This was an incredible matchup, but I just want to take a second to talk about Fletcher real quick.
Okay.
I am seeing so many people online giving Fletcher a lot of guff about Adam Cole.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And look, the kid wrestles stiff. I think anybody can admit that. He wrestles a little snug. It's not fair to blame him what's going on with Adam Cole. There are a lot of circumstances that go into an issue like this. There are a lot of variables, and obviously we all wish the best for Adam Cole as a human being, as a performer. Every facet of this man, we want him to be okay. We want him to be doing well, but let's not point a finger at Fletcher. This sucks. We got to remind ourselves, this ain't ballet. A lot of people are injured across multiple companies. Let's not view this as an indicator of how AEW is run. Let's not view this as an indicator of the type of worker Fletcher is. This just sucks, and let's just focus on the positivity of hoping Adam Cole can one day get back in the ring comfortably. So that's all I wanted to say on that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say, wow, that was a tough one. Ever heard anyone say that Fletcher is an unsafe worker? Like you said, it's just, he works stiff and an accident happened, and sometimes they happen in wrestling, and it's unfortunate for Cole, and slightly unfortunate for Fletcher that he was the guy, just because now everyone's calling him out, which is bullshit. But hopefully Cole can get better, and hopefully everyone gets off Fletcher's case. Before we get into the match, we're going to welcome in Danny Hernandez. Welcome back, Danny. Good to see you as always. Or not. Danny's not ready yet. All right. Instead, let's get into the match, which, as I mentioned, was fucking awesome. Just to jump to the end, after reversing a Fletcher lawn dart into a Hurricanrana, Dorada went up to the top rope and went for a dive. However, Fletcher caught him and then brought him to the other side of the ring and hit the lawn dart, following that up with the haluva kick and then the sheer drop brainbuster for the win. And then after his win, he looked into the camera and called out Dustin Rhodes, who had obviously won the TNT Championship over him on Saturday when a lot of people had Fletcher as the favorite to win. And then he said that I think he said something along the lines, he's going to take everything that Dustin has ever loved. So we'll talk about Fletcher's future in a minute, James, but this match, like I said, rocked. Great back and forth. I thought this was a perfect idea to put these guys together. Dorada obviously is one of the better, if not, one of the best high flyers in the world right now. And I thought Fletcher was the perfect guy to complement him for that. And then vice versa as well, where I think Fletcher's style also very well complemented Dorada's in terms of Fletcher getting offense on him. So great way to open the show. Match-wise, really got the crowd going with this stuff. And the start of some great wrestling tonight.
This was the right match for so many reasons. Like you said, great start to the show. Great way to get people hyped. After like the feel-good moment with Hangman. Maria's right. This was a great matchup. Beyond that, I think we can all agree. Wow, he's just gone.
Yep, Danny. Yeah, Danny popped in for the 2 seconds. Bye, everyone.
Okay. I think we can all agree. If things didn't play out the way they did, the original match we were going to get was Fletcher versus Adam Cole, and 90% Fletcher was going to walk away with the TNT Championship.
Yeah, I had that on my list as well.
I think we all did. And due to that pivot, unfortunately, of Cole being injured and that becoming a fatal four-way, I think it was the right move to give Dustin the title.
100%.
After everyone was just so sad, after everyone was so upset. Let me tell you, I sat with somebody at Allin, the guy behind me, great couple. They were really enjoying the show. The guy was telling me I was so hyped for Adam Cole. He's one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. And then for that to happen, oh my God, this poor guy's night was almost ruined.
Yeah.
But we all were able to enjoy the Dustin title win. And I think if they had let Fletcher win the title, it would have just been an icky feeling after an unfortunate moment. So let Dustin have this month with the belt. Whether it's at Forbidden Door or at All Out, he's going to take the title from Dustin.
Yeah.
He just is. So this match was the right match to happen because
Well
Fletcher,
said, James.
Thank you so much, Danny. Thank you so much. Hey, I'll take it. This is my dream. If he just comes in to say nice things to me, oh man, I'm here for it.
The next time he's going to come in now, he's going to just disparage whatever you say.
I believe in him. Hey, don't talk down to Danny. Don't presume to know who he is and what type of man he is. And even if he does, it's not because you said it. It's because I probably said something dumb.
Yep.
Which I don't do often, but you never know. But Fletcher needed to look good. He needed a big win coming out of that pay-per-view. After not having his moment at Allin, he needed to have a good moment on Dynamite. And Dorada is the perfect opponent because, as we saw, he is exciting. He could get the crowd behind him, and he could put on a fun match. And boom, 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 all three of those things happened. So we got a great matchup. Fletcher got to have a great win. And we're back on course.
100% agree. We were talking a lot about on Saturday with Dustin and Fletcher, not getting the win there. And this also, Fletcher a little more something to do now before he gets the title. And because I think this could create even a more vicious Fletcher because he got that moment ripped away from him. So I'm very excited to see what he ends up doing here in the next, month, 2 months until he gets a shot at the TNT Championship. And obviously, like you said, putting Dorada in this matchup against him, get the crowd going, putting on a great match, and doing it with somebody who can eat the loss in this situation.
Yeah.
Because Dorada is a great wrestler, but you have him lose here, and two young stars going against each other. One of them loses, and I think everyone's okay with that situation.
I need to address one last thing when it comes to Fletcher. Everything was serious. This is going to be a little bit lighter, so don't worry. Right. I was reminded of this again. This happened at All In, and that very nice couple. I saw someone tweet at Mark It Down, or Mark It Down acknowledged it. The Protostar font is very misleading, and many people are confusing it for porn star.
That's the joke? Question mark.
I don't know that that's the joke.
Nobody's confusing it for porn star. It is very, very on purpose. It is done with premeditated intent.
With the fleshlights in mind.
Exactly.
I you know what? I stand corrected then. I stand corrected. Could have been
why
worse.
He dresses like that.
My God. Am I a prude?
No, I just think you were kind of missing the joke there for a second.
Oh, goodness gracious.
You're also in a healthy, committed relationship. You just
never looked at
the internet.
I just never looked at it and saw porn. I just never, I never did.
Honestly, I haven't either, but people on the internet have been saying that. So
but this person, by the way, said it unironically. Genuinely, she was like, the porn star? I was like, no.
It admittedly is tough to read font, so.
Yeah.
Producer boy, pick that one for the TikToks.
Whatever gets them over, okay? A gimmick is a gimmick, okay?
And it's working. He is over, and it was also nice to see Don back with him for the first time in a while. Don wasn't on commentary, but he was at ringside for the first time for a Fletcher match in a while, just because Don had been so focused with Okada. So it was nice to see that. But yeah, it's working, man. People love booing him, but he's so good in the ring that he eventually will probably get over as a face and be great at that too. So
I mean, people wanted to cheer him. People were cheering him before he turned on Will.
Yeah, because he's fucking awesome. I think over the weekend, MJF walked through one of his interviews and be like, "You got to watch this kid right here. He's going to be a fucking star." If MJF is giving you props,
MVP did.
Oh, is it MVP? Okay,
yeah.
In my defense, they're similar letterings.
Yep.
But either way, you getting that sort of rub just at random is great. So he is a future top of this company type of guy, and I look forward to seeing whatever he does in the future because it's going to be awesome. All right, let's keep it moving. Up next, we went back to the Young Bucks. This time they were backstage trying to get down to their locker room, which was all the way down a flight of stairs that they had to drag their luggage down. And when they finally got down there, they were met by one Renee Paquette. And
she was loving this.
She gleefully asked them about their loss to Swerve and Ospreay, and was called out on it by Matt. Before they just both blew her off. They then eventually rounded a corner to find their locker room, where they saw Charlie, for those of you who used to watch Sammy's vlogs, crossing out the EVP on the sign for their locker room and writing Matt and Nick on the sign before walking away, much to their protesting. Ricochet then walked by with the gaze of agony and commented that it must suck to be them right now, with Matt being like, "We just had with you 2 weeks ago." And eventually, they are joined by that carny piece of shit, Don Callis. Don says he thinks it's a travesty what's happening to the Bucks, and that it's ridiculous that they're being treated as jobbers after losing just one match. And while they've had their differences in the past, with Kenny Omega now dead, the irritant that kept them from getting along has been removed, and he thinks they can do some business. Matt says that they will never join Don's family, point blank, but he does recognize that they need some friends right now, so the Bucks agree to hear him out. Don then brings them in for a hug like the old days, with the Bucks looking very uneasy about A, hugging him, and B, joining up with him. That was all.
They look downright disgusted.
Yeah, and that was all earlier in the night, and that led to our next match, which we'll get to in a minute. When we came back from commercial, though, we got a quick announcement from the Hurt Syndicate post All-In backstage. MVP starts off by saying he wishes he could gloat right now, but they knew they were going to retain the tag team championship, so it's kind of hard to because it doesn't really feel like a celebration despite the win. He then once again begs for one of these quote-unquote legendary tag teams to step up and take the titles from them. MJF then addresses Hangman, saying he's glad Hanger won because it would have been easy to take the title off of Dictator John with the contract, but with Hangman, he has something to prove. He wants to prove that Hangman is not a good guy and that he is the best in the world, he being MJF. MJF then says that the contract is just a break glass in case of emergency type of tool, and that he's going to get his championship back the old-fashioned way and go on and win the title and push Hangman back into that pit of despair he dragged himself out from. Danny, would you like to say something?
Oh my God, how did you know? I think this is the best the Hurt Syndicate has looked with MJF in the fold so far. I feel like a common criticism that started to pop up for them is how people haven't really looked too good going up against them. And we kind of talked about that on the Go Home show. But now the other thing is that MJF and MVP have kind of been stepping on each other's toes with their promos, where like MVP just kind of blabs and doesn't really say anything, but he feels compelled to like get words in, so he's kind of stepping on everyone else's promos. But this, I guess because it was backstage, but this was so well articulated by both men that it hit all the strong points of what we expected from this pairing, and it just furthered the story very well between MJF and Hangman, and sets whenever he decides to go after Hangman up very well, and keeps this place spinning for the Hurt Syndicate too. I thought this was the best they've looked as a unit in quite some time. We still need some stronger tag teams though, to go up against them, but I hope that's coming in the near future.
Yeah, and I think we'll hopefully get them. I think we had a couple of things that might help set up for that, and we'll talk about one in a second. But yeah, no, the Hurt Syndicate looked great here. I do agree with you in terms of people not stepping on each other's promos, but agree that it's probably because it was a backstage thing. And it's also really cool. I just realized that they've all got something to carry around now. Bobby and Shelton have the tag titles. MJF has a contract. And MVP has his cane. All right, let's move on to our next match, which saw Bandido, Brody King, and JetSpeed, Speedball Mike Bailey, and Kevin Knight go up against Josh Alexander and Hechicero of the Don Callis family and the Young Bucks. This was great presentation for the Bucks because we were setting this up for a while with them arriving and then that backstage segment. And now they come out, and as they pose, their entrance is cut off as they don't get their pyro. And then their Tron is replaced by a Comic Sans Nick and Matt, along with footage of them losing to Swerve and Ospreay at All In, and them arriving to Dynamite in that Nissan Maxima. We also had Justin Roberts announce them as they used to be EVPs, but now they're not. And then he was just like, Nick and Matt Jackson and Young Bucks, and he ran away because they were going to go after him. So that was all great. I love that presentation. And before I quickly get into the match, because I forgot to mention this on Saturday, shout out to JetSpeed Speed Racer gear. It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, getting into the match towards the end, after a super kick party, Bandido was able to get Nick to super kick Matt before hitting Nick with a pop-up cutter and then an X-snake. Bandido then set him up for the 21-plex, but Alexander came in and caught him, allowing for an assisted spike pile driver with Matt tossing Nick up for the spike. Hechicero then grabbed the down Bandido and popped him up with his feet into a double super kick from the Bucks before grabbing Bandido and putting him in a sleeper hold for the win as the Bucks and Alexander kept everyone else at bay. Another great match here with this one. Hey, what's up? You know it. Good to see you. At one point, we had the Bucks call for an EVP trigger. and then they stopped because they didn't know what to call it. And that allowed Knight, who was going to receive the trigger, to get up and drop kick them and get a hot tag to Speedball, which was hilarious. But yeah, this absolutely rocked, James. And what I'm really getting out of this is I hope we get like we are out to prove ourselves again run from the Young Bucks here, who just
Yes.
put on banger after banger after banger. And whether or not that's to turn face or to go after the titles, whatever, I every time I see them, I forget how much I miss watching them wrestle.
Yeah.
And this was another instance of that. And we've gotten it a lot lately, and it's making me happy.
They've needed for quite some time a reset. And it was really hard to figure out how to do that because of the position they were in. And not just the position they were in on the card, but their real life positions, whether that's with the crowd, who they're always there will never be an instance where the Bucks aren't polarizing just by being who they are. And of course the real life nature of them being EVPs, even though we all know that at this point being an EVP is pretty much an empty title. It's just something Kenny and the Bucks held on to for all this time, it seems. So it was a tough position to be in because of their importance. This is the best way of moving them forward. They get to be the Young Bucks again. They get to be wrestlers again. And whether, like you said, whether that means they eventually turn face or they stay heel, quite frankly, they probably should stay heel for a while. It's just good, to, like you said, to see them wrestling and being the Bucks. And I'm not clamoring for them to win the tag titles anytime soon, but I would love to see them in the division again. I would love to see them actually mixing it up with tag teams because, quite frankly, we've been talking about it week in and week out, and MVP talked about it too. The tag division's been a little weak. The tag division's been a little light. So we got the Bucks back. We got the Guns back this last weekend. There's a whole lot of rejuvenation. I am really putting my money on the fact that I think Kenny is going to be entering the tag division with Coda. And we're getting the Golden Lovers as a team. Obviously, I think this is the team who are going to take the tag titles off of the Hurt Syndicate. We're getting Cope and Christian. So, and I guess we have this team that, I mean, we're going to talk about them in a little bit, but not that I'm expecting major things from. We're going to have the matriarchy now. So in a week's time, we've seen a somewhat rejuvenated tag division. So I'm here for the Bucks. Obviously, we've got JetSpeed, who are picking up momentum as a team. They're starting to feel more legitimate to me, at least. I don't know about anybody else. And I know I rambled a little bit about everything, but this match was fun. Hechicero is scene stealing. He's match stealing. He's becoming one of those guys that you just know he's going to have an epic spot every time he's in a match. He's going to be doing crazy off the wall shit, and it always looks cool. I'm a big Josh Alexander fan. I would like this guy to be used a little bit better. I would like to see him, feel bigger and more important, but I understand that he's got to work his way through, these I guess prove yourself moments in AEW first. But I'm hoping that time comes. I'm loving seeing Brody just all over the place. And ironically, this was my confirmation that Bandido retained the ROH title because I didn't get to watch the pay-per-view.
I actually thought he lost.
I wasn't sure, and they made it at Allin, neither he nor Takeshita came out with the ROH title. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I have no idea who the ROH champion is, and this was my confirmation. He's still champ. So I thought that was funny.
Yeah, honestly, I know we were focusing on the Young Bucks there at the beginning, but everybody played their roles perfectly in this match, which is why it was such a banger. But continuing on the Bucks, I think my thing is that yeah, it is hard to switch them from heel to face when the tag division is currently a ghost town. But I think if you have them go out there and just trying to prove themselves and putting on good matches, almost working themselves back up from the bottom, even if they're heels for a while, they're eventually, I think, Danny, gonna switch back face, which is where I kind of think their direction is heading at the moment, far down the line.
Very, very far down the line. I don't know if it's something they can ever truly do again. They might just have to accept the fact that they have to be career-long heels from here on out, which is fine. Like, if you're able to do it, more power to you. It's pretty hard in modern wrestling, but that might be the direction. But I just want to push back slightly on one small thing James said, which was about JetSpeed seeming more legitimate as a tag team, because no, like I think that the past 2 weeks have not been, or 3 weeks, I should say, have not been kind to them in that regard. That's the one thing I would change here. Fun match. Always love the All-Star PWG style tag matches. They're always fun. I wouldn't have had the heels win here. Like, how are you going to have the Bucks spiral out and they win their first match back? I think the faces could have done with the wins here, more especially when JetSpeed needed a win after losing at the pay-per-view.
So I thought about that too, and the way I reasoned it is that if they had lost right after forming this tedious, not tedious, but like this trepidatious partnership with Don Callis, why would they continue to team with Callis if like right out the gate they lose? Granted, I agree with you. I think the spiral was more important, but that's the only logical reason I can think of. It's like, okay, they do have somewhat of a safety net with Don and the family. But yeah, I do agree with you with the logic.
I mean, Don could have just waited a couple weeks to prey on their vulnerability.
No, I agree. I completely agree. But I where this went, I think that's the logic behind that idea. But yes, I completely agree. I completely agree. Yeah.
But it is what it is. I just want I want the Bucks to be like bum ass Corbin when he lost all his money. I want him to be like that, except do it longer and better. Don't cut us short when people actually kind of were getting interested in it and then become a terrible gimmick. Flesh it out more, see how far we could push this. But it was it's not a huge deal that they won all. It's fine, but because all the other things were so good, like the entrance and the being cut short, the introduction, the custom Titantron of them losing.
Did you make that, by the way?
I think Orange Cassidy made that, actually, based on the amount of effort put into it. But, it's a great start, even though, like I said, I would have taken JetSpeed out of the match if the Bucks had to win this one, put different guys in. But it's whatever. Ultimately, fun segment, fun match. So overall, net positive.
Yeah, I agree with all your statements there. I think maybe JetSpeed losing here isn't the best. At least they didn't take the pin, which is a good thing. The Ring of Honor champion taking the pin is an interesting development, especially against Hechicero. So we'll see if that turns into anything. But we'll see what happens with the Bucks. I am very much looking forward to what happens with them. And to Maria's point, JetSpeed does have a bit more to prove as a tag team. So hopefully they can get some more good matches and keep it rolling if they want to keep them as one of the top teams in the division while it starts to rebuild itself.
By the way, just to clarify my statement about them feeling more legit as a team, they're doing tag moves. They're not just two guys doing, like, they don't feel like two singles guys thrown together. They're starting to feel like an actual tag team. I'm not saying they look like a team that should be winning the tag titles anytime soon. And I went into All In saying I didn't think they should win the tag titles, but they actually feel like a pair now with matching gear, like a new Tron, a move set that is like that timed double dive that they've been doing works, I think. So it's stuff like that that makes me actually view them as a team now. That's what I meant by more of a legitimate team.
Yeah, and then also too, they have to build their way up the rankings as well. So
Yeah.
I think both things are happening, and like I said, I think they're going to stick together as the tag division builds itself back up. All right, let's move on to our next segment, though, which was an in-ring promo from the Rated R superstar Adam Copeland, and he came down
Excuse me. It's Cope.
No,
it's not. It's Adam Copeland. He's back to Adam Copeland.
Yeah. Well, they're calling him both. He gets introduced by Justin Roberts as Cope, but he's Adam Copeland. Anyway, he came down to address a few things. First of all, he wanted to answer the question if he came out to save Christian Cage at All In, and the answer was no, because he is an asshole. And ever since Copeland joined AEW, he's been one, threatening to cripple him and become father to his kids, and interfering in his World Championship match with Moxley, only to get tapped out. Copeland says that Christian did all these things because of jealousy, and that he couldn't see Cope win the title before him. So Copeland actually doesn't blame the patriarchy, or I guess now the matriarchy, for what they did, because it's exactly what he said was going to happen, and hopefully now Christian is somewhere pulling his head out of his ass. The real reason Copeland came down, he says, was at All In, was to get his hands on FTR. And he then tells a story about getting cleared to return, immediately calling him to tell him the news and help him get in the ring shape. And even then, despite the fact that Copeland was in a different company, they had started talking about forming rated FTR. And then when they finally did it, FTR quickly started complaining that they're in Copeland's shadow, looking like glorified edgeheads, while he was keeping them from the AEW World Tag Team Championship. And Copeland says he never understood that, but megalomaniacs always feel like they need the spotlight and it should be on them. FTR also took away 4 months of his career, a career that he says could end up any day, which is a huge deal for him. So now he's back, when he's not back to wrestle FTR or stop them from winning the tag championships, but to end them. Big Stoke then comes out with some AEW security flanking him, and he comes down and he says how FTR read Copeland like a book, knowing he was going to come out and do and say exactly what he did tonight. Stokely then brings up Spike, calling it a liability, and then says that AEW, Tony Khan, and Warner Brothers all got an anonymous email questioning Copeland's behavior, especially towards FTR. Therefore, if Copeland attacks FTR or even tries to shake their hand, he will be fired. Copeland then points out that Stokely only talked about putting his hands on FTR, but said nothing about himself. So Stokely panics and sends some of the security guards at Copeland. Copeland takes them both out. All the other guards run away. And Stokely, in a panic, turns right around into a spear from Copeland. So this is weird, James, because I don't know what they're doing with this in terms of the ban from touching the FTR, because that feels like the path we're going here. I guess Christian gets to them first at some point, but he's got his own business. Or are we just putting this on the back burner so maybe FTR can return in earnest to the tag team division and help bolster it and maybe give the Hurt Syndicate some legitimate competition in the meantime?
I think this is just drama for drama's sake, and I think that's fine. I think we're building towards the Cope Christian reunion, and I guess they want to give Christian a couple of weeks off to sell like this, like as beloved as the line was at the pay-per-view, go find yourself. I think that's actually just the idea here. Christian is going to be gone for a little while to find himself.
Yeah.
It's probably only going to be a couple of weeks, but this is their way of like holding things off a little bit in terms of the action until then. So I don't think it's going to matter in the long run. I think we're going to find a way around it, whether it's Cope is defending himself or Christian, whatever it may be. It's drama. It's just drama. Him, and because at the end of it, he said it like I'm like after he speared Stoke, he said I'm going to end FTR. So it's not like he's like, darn, I can't touch him. Like, no, he's still going to come for them. He just has, I guess he's just going to be creative in how he does it.
Yeah, maybe get somebody else to do it. And then, again, eventually, I do think it will be Christian getting involved. Sorry, go ahead, James.
I think the best thing he could do is get Big Bill to do it. Just because they have the same face and there's some plausible deniability there. Like, was it me? I don't know. Was it him? I don't know. They were in a house of mirrors. There's no way of telling.
Yeah, or, there is some sort of, he has to probably try to get them without any security around. It's going to be something like that. But I do think, Danny, though, they obviously set it up where Christian will return with Spike and go after FTR. So I think James is probably right here. This is just drama for drama's sake until then.
Sure. I don't care. This was like very. I don't want to say this because then I don't want to draw this type of line in the sand. But watching this, it was just a very WWE promo, and it stood out like a sore thumb. I'm like every single thing about this. Stoke with the you can't touch FTR, but Cope being like, we didn't say anything about you, and then beating up the security, like everything about it just felt. I was like, oh, Cope, you're still in that WWE mindset. I'm like, when he first came over, he kind of dropped it immediately. He just went on like, all right, you guys like to wrestle here. I'm just gonna wrestle like every week, and it was good and it was really fun. I was like this, I'm like you're threatening to take away everything great about Christian for your nostalgia run, and I'm not here for it. Like you're the bad. He's still the bad guy to me. Cope is the bad guy.
But all right, we do got to acknowledge it's not like Christian doesn't have a say here. So if they are teaming up again, Christian's like, I want to team up with my buddy, but we're just gonna blame Cope for it.
100%, because Christian knows better. Christian, that's why he pushed it off, supposedly. Right? Because Christian knows that Cope is dead weight, and what Cope is an anchor that's literally weighing Christian back down. Like literally, he probably as soon as he signed, he was like, "Well, there goes my Hall of Fame career right there. Now I gotta do everything I do has to be based around this guy
again."
Again, exactly. The Christian didn't need Cope. Cope needed Christian. Okay, let's not get it confused here. But anyway, yeah, I wasn't super into this. Like, it wasn't bad. Like, everything he said was fine. His logic made perfect sense. It was a good promo. It just felt out of place to me on this show and this company. It's not the end of the deal. I'm still a fan of Cope in AEW. It's just this week it didn't gel with me, and it didn't leave me interested in what's coming up.
No, I think that's fair. It was, I don't want to call it a complete WWE ass promo because he did curse a little bit more in it, but yeah, fair enough. I thought the stipulation that they can't touch each other was stupid. He's gonna do it anyway. Why make the stipulation? Unless this ends in a lights out match.
Also, there's no heel authority. The EVPs are literally gone, so who's approving this kind of nonsense?
Warner Brothers. Who's Zaslav? That asshole. Guy doesn't know how to run a fucking company at all.
That's fair. When Rev is right, he's right. But I will say I did kind of like that there's a story reason as to why he's not bringing what's the thing's name, Janice or
you mean Spike?
Spike. All right, Janice was Abyss's. My bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where did that come from?
It
makes more sense now.
Yeah. I'm glad that there's a reason why he's not going to be waving Spike around every week, because look, am I all for people getting impaled? Sure. But there's a time and a place. Like, worse has been done to Cope over the years that he wasn't impaling people with spikes. So
He was just hitting an impaler, big difference.
All right, let's just move on.
You kind of walked into that.
I don't.
We all know it's going to be Christian returning with that, and then I think we get some sort of no DQ lights out match something.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. After this, we got a quick backstage promo for Mark Briscoe, who's still calling out MJF. This time, calling him a bitch for ducking him the entire gauntlet match, leading to Mark accomplishing neither of his goals that night, both whipping MJF's ass and winning the contract. And by doing so, after invoking the name of Jay Briscoe a few weeks ago, MJF now has invoked Jay's spirit, bringing out the violence and the chaos of them boys so that Mark can make MJF pay for his sins. Real quick promo from Mark, but still very good. This leads into our next match, which was Willow Nightingale versus Kris Statlander versus Queen Aminata versus Thekla in a 100K four-way fight. That's how it was dubbed. I didn't make that up. This match ended with Willow hitting a Babe with the powerbomb onto Thekla and going for a pin. Thekla and going for the pin. But Statlander ended up pulling referee Aubrey Edwards out of the ring to stop the count. Obviously, Willow got pissed and she left the ring, and her and Statlander ended up fighting all the way up the ramp and into the back. Back in the ring, Aminata hit Thekla with something, even Excalibur missed it, followed by a stomp from the top rope, but Thekla was able to kick out of that. We then had Sky Blue come down the ramp and distract Queen Aminata, and that allowed Julia Hart to sneak in the ring behind her before spinning her around and spitting the miss into Aminata's face. Thekla then immediately capitalized and hit a stomp to Aminata and pinned her for the win. And then afterwards, Tekla's hands were raised by both Julia and Sky. Once again, Danny, the women's match absolutely fucking slaps. That one sequence in the middle there, I couldn't name every move that happened, but it ended with Aminata hitting a headbutt to Statlander, and then all four women were left laying after they just hit each other with everything they had for about 2.5 minutes. That was fucking awesome. This whole match was awesome. And I like the winner here. I like they wrote Willow and Stat out of it to, kind of get them away from the finish. And then you have Thekla get a high-profile win on Dynamite over somebody she's been having a blood feud with. So I like this booking, and I love this match.
When they announced this match, oh man, I got so excited. Like literally
For the sickos.
I don't even know who they could have put in this match to have made it even better. But like maybe like Jamie Hayter was okay, but like this was so good. I did go into it thinking like, God damn, like, is Aminata going to eat another pin? Like, because who else can take the pin in this match? But like they did it in the best way possible to protect her and continue a feud, because now she has to go up against all the spooky girls who are friends now. So like she has an uphill battle against her. She can pick up some wins against like a former champion like Julia Hart along the way. And whenever she truly gets that win over Thekla, that's going to be really when Aminata has her coming out party. And, we talked about it the past couple of weeks, how she's in that spot that a lot of people find themselves in where they're on AEW TV a lot. They are losing matches, but they're in matches almost every week. And it gives them a chance if they get over, that's when they start winning matches. And Aminata is at that point now that she didn't feel out of place in this match. And even though she was the obvious person to get a pinfall, it was still like, oh, really? Like, how are they going to do this? Because she is in this feud that everyone's into with Thekla, who is coming, great signing so far, like coming in and just immediately having a program. And even though it's a substitute program because Hayter is injured, it's worked out beautifully for everybody. Yep. So, this was a home run of a match and a segment. I'm not going to lie. The first time Tony announced one of these like $100,000 matches, I thought it was really dumb. But the more he keeps doing it, the funnier it gets. And like the more I just accept it. And I'm like, yeah, this is hilarious. Because like maybe, who knows, maybe he's actually paying these people and it's fucking insane. It's actually worse if he's actually paying them, but still. It's like, maybe he's writing it to whatever charity they choose or whatever. But like it's grown on me, even though it's dumb. It's so dumb, but like it's grown on me because it keeps getting funnier that it keeps doing it because it's like, what a way to spend your money, I guess. If you're a rich guy,
I was gonna
why
say,
not?
like, it's believable that the rich guy was like, it's only $100,000, right?
Yeah, he's like, whatever. It's like giving like a monthly bonus to an employee, right? So you fucking go for it. But I loved all this dynamics of this match. I loved Willow and Stat continuing. I love the Thekla Aminata. I loved Aminata mixing it up with Willow and Stat too. That felt fresh and different.
Yeah.
And like I said, Thekla, even though she's so much smaller than everybody, she doesn't wrestle smaller, so it still felt like even playing fields. And the way Stat and Willow fought each other out, they're gonna have a blow-off match. I feel like do it at All Out. Have a 1 year to the date of their insane match. Like have a blow-off where they beat the fucking shit out of each other and then make up at the end. Because we know eventually it has to end with them becoming friends again. So what better way for sickos wrestling in AEW to become friends than by shedding a shit ton of blood together?
Yeah, I can absolutely see that happening. I think these like 100K matches or whatever they ended up being, I've read that they're like an old territory thing where they used to do that in certain territories just to add stakes to what was seemingly a random match. And it kind of just allows Toni to make quote unquote random matches that people used to complain about. They're like, oh, this match has no story. Now there's more stakes to it. And it allows you to do that. And it also allows for funny tweets from people saying what they're going to do with the money. Like Willow saying, asking how many Hello Kitty plushies she could buy with the $100,000. Statlander said she was going to buy 10K worth of worms to release into the men's locker room, give 20K to my bad bitches, 30K to the local animal shelter, and pocket 40K for Stat Daddy. And then Aminata says she was going to give 100K to an anti-ice fundraiser. So I liked all of that. But to your point about Aminata, and James, I'm sure you could talk about this as well. She's kind of in the spot, since you mentioned her, that Jamie Hayter was supposed to be in. And I think she has taken full advantage of that. She has gotten some great matches with Thekla following her great series of matches with Julia Hart. And now we're mixing all of those into what's seemingly forming to be a new women's faction. Because, I mean, I don't know if she's going to win this feud just because Thekla is a high-profile signing there, Maria. But she's definitely getting over because of this feud, James.
No, for sure. And we're all sort of glossing or maybe forgetting that when this feud started, there was some drama around it.
Alleged drama.
I mean, I don't think there was any ignoring the fact whether it was a shoot or it was a work. It was a very awkward first match. Even before you and I recognized what had happened in the end of it, we looked at that match and said something feels off here. And then when we looked back at the finish and so much had been reported on it, that was Aminata upset? Was there drama between the two women? We don't know the answer. But whether this is a case of them making lemonade out of lemons or just a great work all the way through, it's proving great. It's proving great for both women.
If I can add on to that, because what you're talking about, watching that first match, I think the best direct comparison is actually, if you remember the Jungle Boy versus Roosh match.
Yes.
Where Roosh just fucking killed this kid for 10 minutes and then Jungle Boy won real quick.
Yeah.
Where I was like, what? Like, this about Jungle Boy. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I think that's similar to what happened here.
Yeah.
The only thing where it's like, okay, like whatever, like they just hit each other stiff, and you know what? I can believe that is what it is. The only bit of the drama that I even bought into for a little bit was Aminata immediately getting up
after
as soon
the
as the
finish.
count was
done.
That's the only part where I'm like, well, that's bad if it's a shoot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally
like,
agree.
The stiffness, whatever, like that's just made the match cool as fuck.
Yeah.
But, like, it subverts your expectations on a debut. It's almost like, I think it was it Anna Jay who, like, when she first debuted had like a video package to hype her up, but then her debut was against like Abaddon, and Abaddon was actually the star there and the one who won the match. It was kind of like one of those where I'm like,
I could see it.
Yeah,
I could see it having been Anna Jay.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it was her. I just don't remember if it was Abaddon. I think it was Abaddon that.
I thought Anna debuted in the Nightmare Factory during the pandemic. I could be wrong. It was definitely one of her first matches, though.
But anyway,
I remember
so anyway,
Abaddon.
continue, James.
But I'm enjoying this very much. It sucks because as we were going over and as Danny was talking about the 100K like prize of it all, I was going through a tweet from Aminata where she said the whole 100K is going to anti-ice, and it's like, oh no, I know. But when I was reading it, that was the point I was trying to make. Just reading it and then watching it, it's like, oh God, how do we not do this? You know, like, are we making Tony Khan the bad guy here? Like that's what it felt like. So I didn't mean to step over you, Rev, with that, but just.
I think if they keep doing stuff like that, he'll just start donating to the charity as they mentioned.
Wait, so is Tony now on the hook for $10,000 worth of worms into the men's locker room, or?
Yes, I'm sure. Yes,
sounds like fun.
But
got to get back at Trent because he's a dick in real life.
Yes, he is. You know who isn't though? Chuck Taylor. He was really cool at the AEW after party.
Not surprised.
as was Stat, who was a little shyer, but she was still really cool.
Also not surprised.
But I am going to push against Danny a little bit here, and I apologize. I love the overall story with Willow and Stat, and I agree. I would love for there to be this huge payoff at the end of it. My only complaint is I feel like there's been so much stop and go with this story that I wish that they just spent some time away from each other. I feel like we haven't had a significant break between the two, that they've just consistently been in each other's orbit, in whether it be in a matchup or via segments or storyline or whatever. And to my knowledge, like, I guess we know the answer, but there still isn't even really payoff from the Marina Shafir, John Moxley tease when it comes to Stat.
Yeah.
So I would rather just they kind of do, like, Hangman and Swerve were always sort of, you know, like, we were all aware of where they were, but there were a good amount of time where they kind of just both went off and did their own thing. And I would have liked to see that a little bit more with Stat and Willow. So, like, when the big payoff comes, I'm going to be happy because they had put so much equity into it. But there is a part of me that's like, can we just get there already? Which I didn't want to feel with this story.
How can you say, can we just get there already? But then also you want them to spend time apart.
Well, because let's either do it now, or if we're not going to do it now, let's just separate until we do it. But it's just been back and forth. Forgive me. I don't forgive you. Please forgive me. Yo, you won't forgive me. I'm going to be mad at you for being mad at me. And it's gone on for too long. It's gone on for too long of too much of the same stuff.
Just wait till they have that blow-off match and then make up and go for the AEW Women's Tag Team titles.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
If they go separate ways for now, then that just means they're not going to be on TV. Like, that's all that means.
I don't want that
So
either.
They will be, but
well, I don't think. I'll be honest. I think that's more of a worry for Stat than it is for Willow. I think Willow is just too over to not be on TV.
Yeah, but if they don't have anything for her to do,
they would just give her. I truly think she's one of the women now on the roster that could just have, and Tony would just let have random matches on TV. I'd put her in that category. I'd put I get like non-champions.
I'd still put Statlander in that category.
I would too.
Yeah.
I would too.
More
but
matches
we've seen him not do it. No. I mean, she's been there longer. Like I feel like
no, I mean in the past 6 months.
I don't think that's true. Willow was
she had
involved in
multiple matches with Megan Bain. Yeah, not having matches exactly.
But still, like, all right, match isn't the word. Involved in televised, actual important stuff. Stat wouldn't be. The Megan Bayne thing was to feed to Megan Bayne. Willow was because she was part of the story. I'd rather wait 6 weeks to be an Anarchy in the Arena than lose twice to Megan Bayne and then just never get anything from it.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not arguing that, Willow's spot isn't great and one of the highest in the women's division. I'm just saying, but by the precedent you set, Scott's been wrestling more than Willow has.
Fair enough. Match-wise, fair enough.
Yeah, Willow was involved more in angles than matches with the Death Rider stuff, as you mentioned, James. So that was part of
Willow,
it too. But...
or Stott was in plenty of angles. They were just watching Willow's angles from a TV in the back.
At an angle.
Because she's moved on. She's not jealous.
The Bret Hart TV screen.
Was it the Bucks or the New Day who was watching it backwards? I think they both did that, actually.
I think they both did it, and it was perfect both times.
Yeah, we do have to move on, but real quick, I want to say hi to Fernando. Good to see you as always, dude. And he agrees that there has been no progression in the story. It's just stuck on neutral at the moment. Maria actually doesn't care about the angle at all. I disagree. I love them, but neutral, I think, is the right word from Fernando there. And Maria comparing Willow to Sami Zayn, which I like that comparison. I don't know about you, Danny, but I think it's a good one.
Once upon a time.
Yes and no. It's good in the sense that, they're both that type of babyface, but it's bad because Sammy's probably never going to win the big one, and we don't want that for Willow,
I don't think there's a world where Willow doesn't win a title.
Yeah, she will sooner than later, I think. And speaking of winning titles, Maria thinks Queen Aminata should be the one to take the TBS title off of Mercedes, which is big praise coming from Maria.
That's wow. That's big.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate it.
I wouldn't hate it either.
Yeah, she has been very much proving herself, again, both with that Julia Hart feud and now this Thekla feud. So shouts to her taking advantage of the situations she's being put in and absolutely killing it. But we do have to move on to a champion, as we were just talking about, as Timeless Toni Storm came out on one of the many balconies in tonight's venue in Chicago to cut her promo and have her victory speech, as it were. And I shout out to this venue, by the way. It is beautiful. I thought it worked perfectly here with Toni. Yes. I thought some of it had kind of an old Western vibe when Hangman came out, which I thought lended itself well to the situation. So good call here by Tony Khan to pick this venue for the evening.
The only person who disagrees is JD from NY.
Of course he is, and never say his name on this podcast.
No,
again.
A bunch of other of the typical losers.
The grifters,
the incels.
Like a Raj Giri type of loser has the same sort of boneless opinion.
Yeah.
It's weak ass shit.
Anyway, Toni starts off by giving us her usual bevy of wonderful rhymes before actually thanking Mercedes Money, that's what she said, for going all in with her and doing everything they set out to do. However, Mercedes forgot that Toni said if she made one false move, she'd eat Mercedes alive, and Mercedes tasted delicious. And if Mercedes ever wants seconds, the buffet is always open. Toni then delivers some bad news, saying that Luther was injured during the match and he will require an undisclosed reattachment surgery. But for now, Toni has her tits pointed towards the future, as her title is the big one. And as Toni is continuing to talk, she gets cut off by Athena and Billy Starks up on the Tron. Athena says that she will quickly become the forever champion of AEW, before pointing out without Luther and Mina, whose head she took off with an O-face because she stepped into her company without permission, that means Toni has no friends left. Side note, I think Mina hurt her hand in that match, which is the actual injury. So hopefully she can get better soon. Athena then says she can pick any time or any place. So Toni needs to stop looking for her happy endings because her demise and her murderer are here. They then go off of the Tron, and Toni responds that if Athena is ready, then she will be sweaty. If Athena is willing, then she will be thrilling. And if Athena is able, then she will bend her over the table because she is timeless. So, James, this was quick. It was very good. It was mostly just Toni doing more rhymes and double entendres. But we really got Athena, I'd say, truly introducing herself to the AEW audience here. I think we all really know who she is, but she's mostly been on Ring of Honor doing her thing down there. And I don't know if this is the first promo she's cut on Dynamite, but it's the first big one, especially now that she's the number one contender to the AEW Women's World Championship.
I know a lot of it's easy, and I'm not saying you did forget, Rev, but I know it's easy for a lot of people to forget that Athena did spend time in AEW before Ring of Honor.
True.
There was that like couple of months where it felt like she was going to win. I think it was at the time the TBS title.
Yeah,
like,
as opposed to.
Oh, she feuded with Jade, right?
No, because I remember she was teaming with, I think it was Willow at the time, or Stat. No, Stat. It was Stat, and there was like a question of, is Stat going to go for the TBS title or the world title? Is Athena going to go for the world title or the TBS title? And I forget which one it was, but I remember that there was a point where it just felt like this is the trajectory. So she definitely was a character on AEW TV.
Yeah.
And it's sad that it was so long ago that it's totally justifiable to forget that.
I never flinched. It was always going to be Statlander that beat Jade.
Yeah.
Never flinched on that. But Athena did go for the title, and she was the most believable person to dethrone Jade at that time.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
so it was, she challenged Jade for the TBS Championship at All Out in 2022. And then at Grand Slam, she was actually in a 4-way match for the interim Women's World Championship when Toni was the interim champion, and then it was Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Serena also in that match, and Toni retained. And then shortly after that, she went over to Ring of Honor.
Yeah. So they confirmed on the Scrum post All-In, she is just on the AEW roster full time now. I am so happy. I know, and I think we did talk about this, or you guys did talk about this post All-In, that it's so easy to look at someone like Toni Storm and compare who they were prior to AEW to who they are now in AEW. But when it comes to someone like Athena, it's just as true. It might not be as flashy a change because timeless Toni Storm is just so iconic. But Athena and Ember Moon are like night and day. And that's not meant to be like, no pun intended with Ember Moon, but like it's astounding to see how far this character or this person has developed in their time, whether it's AEW or Ring of Honor. There's a confidence there that I never saw before, and it's justified. It's earned. There's a presence that just can't be denied. And I'm so excited for this. Like, truly, I'm excited for this. I was banking and I was really, really hoping for multiple reasons that Toni was going to beat Mercedes at All-In. Of course, most of that was because I wanted Toni to win. I felt like she deserved that win. But more than that, I was excited for the prospect of her versus Athena. And I know we all agree ROH is a step below AEW across the board, whether it's the titles or the presentation or whatever. But I do think the one exception when it comes to Ring of Honor, and I think she's the exception that proves the rule, is Athena. Like, granted, I can argue, and I think people that watch Ring of Honor could argue, she should have lost that title last year. But we are bordering on almost 1,000 days as Ring of Honor Women's Champion. That is nothing to scoff at. You know, if we could, go ahead.
I said, let her pass Roman.
Hell yeah. If we could live in a world where Roman Reigns' title reign is applauded, we should be on our hands and knees applauding Athena. So I am excited for this matchup. This promo was fantastic. I'm going to comment on the obvious. I don't know if this is the first time they've done it, but I fucking loved it. The pop of red on Toni and the black and white was just so cool.
They did it at the pay-per-view.
Oh, they did.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I
Yeah,
think they also been doing it slightly when she was kind of dressing like Carmen Sandiego. They did it a few
Gotcha.
times there, I think, as well.
It
And they've
is
used it. Sorry, they use it in promos as well with the blood.
gotcha. Got yeah, and it's fantastic. It works.
Hmm.
But it is funny to see that there are audience members wearing red, so they pop out too.
Yep.
It is not enough for it to like ruin it for anything, but it is just funny to see. But just absolutely great, and I cannot wait. I think this is my most anticipated matchup for AEW for the foreseeable future. Like I'm not saying something can't surpass that. It's something that like I'm very excited for another matchup that we're going to be talking about shortly. But I think this is the match that it's just like it's gonna be a banger. It's gonna be fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I think immediately coming out of All In, this was my most anticipated match heading into the future. Obviously, we have we most likely have Hangman versus MJF somewhere down the line as well. But Danny, following that match on Saturday and knowing what Athena has done recently, I have to agree with James. This is highly anticipated, and this interaction only, I think, upped the anticipation.
This felt like a big deal. This felt like two dominant forces meeting for the first time. And it did feel special. And that's what we had with Mercedes versus Toni too. But, you know, this is two, and this is more or less what James was saying, but these are two women who have reinvented themselves in AEW and really carved out their own corners of wrestling history. Athena with her near 1,000-day reign, and Toni with the timeless character. They're just both really special, and they're both, not that they couldn't have succeeded elsewhere,
Yeah.
but this is where they succeeded, and this is where they've done their best work. And to see two people like Mercedes, you can argue where her best work was done. You have a case for three different places where, whether it's WWE, AEW, or even in Japan. Like, you know, like there's a lot of, but for Toni and Athena, it's like, well, it's here. It's in AEW or / ROH in Athena's case. So this really feels like two homegrowns without them, you know, being actual like homegrowns coming together. And that feels special. That feels like something we should celebrate. And I think the feud's going to be great. And I think the match is going to be fantastic. And I think it was worth the wait for Athena. I think everyone, ourselves included sometimes, did a lot of complaining about Athena being stuck in the ROH vortex, but like now it kind of feels worth it. If she was just someone that came in and failed to beat Mercedes, which I know technically she did in the tournament, but like, you know, that wouldn't have been as special. Or if she was just a challenger for Mariah May or Toni, like previously, it wouldn't have been as special. But now it's like, I don't think it could get more special than it is right now. Like I think this was a great time to do it, as much as we all would have loved to see it sooner. I think now the payoff is at its highest though. So I'm looking forward to the match very much.
Yeah, I agree, because I think before we had Toni versus Mercedes, you know, at All In, we were both kind of, or we all kind of knew to an extent that that seemed to be the direction that they were going in. Really kind of depended on what happened in that Mercedes versus Athena matchup. And then it kind of felt like, all right, the winner of that is most likely going to go on to face Toni, with I think maybe the exception of Jamie Hayter. But once we got the Mercedes Toni match, it made much more sense that they were doing it that way, because had Athena challenged earlier, she just would have been another person who would have had to lose to either of them. And she was technically to Mercedes, but not for the title, so that we could set up this match. Now that Toni has beaten Mercedes, there is the possibility that she loses the title anytime in, you know, her next matches. Unlikely that it's going to be her first one after such a big win, but there's the possibility. And I think Athena is going to be written cleverly enough to do that in a very cool way. So I look forward to see how they're going to do that, whether it's a straight up match or Athena is able to cash in some way. I don't know if that's how these contracts work.
I was just going to ask, do we have a clear definition if these are cash-ins or not? Because MJF indicate we don't, or they're not.
We don't, because like I know what you're about to say, because MJF made it seem like he can cash in whatever, and Tony was very elusive about it in the media scrum. So I think the way they keep wording it is like it's not going to be a cash in like what Christian did, but more like a premeditated, like, hey, this is the date, I'm going to use that. And maybe the person has a match that day already or not. Like, I'm not exactly sure. Like, I don't think it's going to be full Money in the Bank. The way they make it seem like it's going to be sort of hybrid, like almost Money in the Bank, but not full blown. It sounds like they haven't decided yet, and they're just wording it in a way where they can fall back on whatever they decide to do.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
How do you kill a vampire? However you write it.
I hope that I'm fine with MJF if there is a cash-in situation. I'm fine with MJF doing it. I don't want to see Athena start it that way. I'd rather her just beat Toni.
Yeah,
but we'll find out.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, Maria, the rules are confusing, but to Neptune's Nymph's point, good to see you. The match will be legendary. And Timeless beating Mercedes and Athena back-to-back will put her on a whole different level from everyone else in wrestling.
I could truly say I am going, when this match happens, it's going to pain me because I love Toni. I'm going to be Team Athena.
It's going to be a tight one.
Yeah.
Good joke there, you know. All right, let's get to these last two segments here real quick. After this, we had the former Patriarchy cut a quick backstage promo. Kip says that he chose Christian Cage, but after taking bullet after bullet for the Patriarch, when it was almost like him pulling the trigger, it led him to the point that he realized that he should be supporting his brother alongside a matriarch instead of supporting Christian. Mother Wayne then comments that she noted Christian had a little bit of trouble getting up on Saturday, something that he is all too familiar with, according to her. And then she says that the reality is that these are her boys, Nick Wayne is her son, and our prodigy. And then Nick says that Christian was past his expiration date, something he realized when Christian started going against their plans to capture the AEW World Championship. Christian also kept belittling Nick for how he had never won a World Championship, but Nick points out he's only 21. How many more championships might he win in the future, and how much better is he going to get? He says that Christian created this monster, and now everyone has to look out for him as he becomes the face of AEW. That is followed by a Kazuchika Okada squash match. I think it was against a guy named Kintaro. At least that was on his trunks. As I mentioned, it was a squash. He won with the Rainmaker really quick. But for the most part, the match was to do two things. One, it was to allow Don Callis to come out holding both the International and the Continental Championships and introduce Kata and show everybody his new presentation, including a new theme. And then,
as long as he has the coin drop, that's all that matters.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And the other thing was for after the match, Don got a mic and said Okada wanted to say something, and Okada called out Swerve Strickland for screwing over the Young Bucks, calling him a bitch. Swerve immediately then came out, took Okada's wrist to move the microphone up to his own mouth, and said, "Yeah, I did do that. What's she going to do about it, bitch?" And then the two stared each other down before Strickland sauntered off. So, James, as you mentioned, with Okada's new presentation, as long as he got the drop, he's cool. But I do like it. And I saw somebody point this out on Reddit. They said, or on Twitter, it was somewhere. They said they were going to make this new unified championship feel almost like a second world title. And there's few better ways to do that than immediately have Swerve gunning for Okada.
It makes so much sense, but I'm so mad because I would have loved Swerve to be the guy to take it off of him. But you can't have him lose right after. You can't have Okada lose right after beating Kenny and becoming the inaugural champion. So this is going to fuck. This is going to be incredible. These two have no. They did wrestle 1-on-1 once so far, right?
I do not know. I will check.
I think it was in a tournament. I'm not entirely sure, but I feel like they've wrestled 1-on-1 already. I think it was when Swerve was world champion, so it wasn't during a tournament. But I am very ready for this. Swerve, there is something about this guy, and I can't explain it, but there's something about this guy that when he walks out, he feels like the epitome of AEW. And there are a few guys that this applies to, like Hangman or Kenny, but there is just something about Swerve that it's like, oh my God, the room just shifted because this guy walked out. So I am all for it. I cannot wait for this, and it's going to be a banger, whether it's at Forbidden Door or All Out or wherever it's going to be. Damn, that crowd is going to have a great match on their hands.
Yeah, checking into it, it looks like Okada fought Swerve on Dynamite 250 last year, but I think it ended in a no contest because of interference from the Bucks, and then Darby and some other people came out to help. So hopefully we get a definitive finish to this one. I have to imagine, as you said, it's going to be Okada because of the reason you mentioned that he just beat Kenny Omega. But I'm still very excited for this, Danny. That James said it. The match is going to fuck.
What's going to happen, right? Okada's going to get all this help from the Don Callis family and their new friends, the Bucks. And, you know, who's not going to help Swerve? Hangman, because he's busy with other shit. And then Swerve's going to be like, you didn't help me the way I helped you. And that's how we're going to get another Swerve Hangman match out of this. So if that's how we get there, that's cool. That's an interesting path to take. But yeah, fuck, I'm not gonna say no to a Swerve Okada match. Like, yeah, that sounds like someone that Okada is gonna put on his working boots for. So, you know, let's fucking do it.
I could also see Ospreay returning to help and you know, take care of the Bucks or whomever he can from the Don Callis family, and then maybe eventually Ospreay is the one to take this title off of Okada. Well, before obviously, I think everyone thinks he's going to win it next year at All In at Wembley. So the AEW World Championship. So that's a possibility as well. I'm looking forward to any and all possibilities with Okada and this new title, just because I think there are a lot of great matchups, and because Toni really wants to put some prestige behind this title, that he's going to put great matchups for it in the coming months. Also, Maria saying Swerve has true. I know she meant aura if this wants to click. All right, don't click, but she actually wrote Aurora. There it goes. And I like that because I feel like that's a step above because Aurora is awesome. And Swerve was very shiny tonight, kind of like the Aurora itself. But
he's a real Borealis of himself.
Yep, there you go. But
fun fact about me. The doctor told my folks that I was going to be a girl, and that was going to be my birth name. I was going to be Aurora.
Cool. I was going to be Emily if I was a girl, I'm pretty sure.
Man, so they put a lot of effort into your female name, but not your middle name.
Well,
you.
Wait, like my middle name?
No, you meant if you were going to be a girl, you were going to be Aurora, and that was a lot more effort than James. I think.
I thought you said middle name. My mom pulled a fast one on my dad when it came to my name. I'll tell you about that after the chat. We want to end this. But
yeah. Hey, I own a team called the Aurora, so there you go. All right, but that was Dynamite. This, I think, Danny, was a great follow-up to All In. The wrestling tonight was spectacular. I know every match up and down this card was great. We got a lot of great promos for everybody. Hangman opening up. Toni going in the middle there, setting up that feud with Athena. I thought we were able to set up some other feuds with, you know, some of the other promos like Swerve and Okada that we just talked about. We helped establish, I think, the matriarchy or whatever we're going to call it. So just there's a lot of things that would kind of help as an epilogue to All In and then help us getting the ball rolling as we head toward Forbidden Door.
Yeah, I thought it was a great show overall. A lot of progression, a lot of follow-up. We had our nice feel-good celebratory moments with Hangman and Toni celebrating their giant wins. And then we progressed other things like the Bucks aligning with the Don Callis family, Swerve interrupting Okada, multiple stories in the women's division with the one match, and MJF, Mark Briscoe. A lot of stuff here, a lot of good stuff. Even setting up ROH stuff with Bandido getting pinned, setting up a challenger for him. So, like, overall, W show flew by. Amazing venue, beautiful to look at. Good follow-up to the immaculate show that was All In.
Yeah, I think flew by is a good term there because I'm pretty sure this went 15 minutes over and I barely even noticed it. But, James, what were your thoughts on this evening's Dynamite?
Not enough Kenny Omega, 0 out of 10.
Well, he was quote-unquote hurt.
Anyway,
quote-unquote
no,
Yeah,
quote
he's
unquote
dead.
dead.
Yeah.
No, great show, great audience, hot audience. Like, they were happy to be there.
Yep, shout out
I
Chicago.
thought you meant the
I mean, sure, no judgment.
They could, they could have been.
Yeah.
The guy dressed like Liger probably was.
I noticed like
I know it sounds silly to say, but I'm happy that AEW can run Chicago and have Hangman there and not have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
Like,
I hadn't even thought of that, but good point.
We should be, it seems that we are, but we should be past it, and I'm glad that we are. So, just a great way to do this. And yeah, I am excited. It feels like we talk about this a lot, or we say something along these lines a lot. I'm excited for this new era of AEW. So, mission accomplished, All In. And mission accomplished, Dynamite.
I think All In was kind of the culmination of, hey, we're in this new era of AEW or AEW in general, and here's the the final proof that we are back all the way, and they delivered there, and now we are in this era. And it's been a lot of things. It's not just been the wrestling and a lot of people coming back. I saw somebody mention that running these smaller venues kind of make it feel more like Daly's Place again, where it's more intimate and it sounds louder. And I think that's been a part of it as well. So Tony Khan's, ever since he said he's getting back in the weeds, he has been, and he's helped bring this company back to, I think, what we all fell in love with. So shout out to him. I am excited, continue to be excited for the future of AEW as we head towards not only Collision in the next week's Dynamite, but Forbidden Door in August. Now, on that note, I'd like to thank everybody so much for watching us here at the Market Down Podcast. We'd appreciate it if you like to subscribe. As always, if you like the video or like what we're doing, you can click that like button, and then we know you're enjoying it, and we can continue to do it. And then if you want to subscribe here on the channel, you continue to get all the good stuff here on the podcast. The Gym Pack Zone's coming soon. I know Slammiversary.
We're back. We'll be back
Sunday.
Sunday.
So be sure to check it out. If anybody's going, James will be there, so keep an eye out for him on Long Island. If you want to follow us on all of our social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Twitter, then you can check out the links in the description below if you're here on YouTube. And then if you are not on YouTube and you're watching over on Twitter or on Facebook, I'm just going to click the thing here so I can read. You can check us out on Twitter at marketdown_pod. Instagram is at marketdownpod. YouTube.com/marketdown3665. And then marketdownpod.bsky.social over on Blue Sky. Or as always, just search Marketdown Podcast in the search bar of any of those platforms, and you'll find us. Anybody got anything to say before we get out of here? All right. So for Danny Hernandez and James Santi, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching us here at the Market Down Podcast. As Danny always says, be nice to animals and have a good one, everyone.